Hello, and welcome back to the Orange Butterfly Effect. So, today, my friends, you are stuck with just me. I know that I've had a lot of interviews, but I've missed you. So, I'm happy to be back with you individually today. But I really wanted to break up some of the weekly interviews with highlights from a few of my favorite books or professional reads. And as you know, this podcast is for young professionals and anyone that's just trying to figure it all out. And one way that I am still figuring it all out is by constantly reading and absorbing new information. So I have some notes over here to the right of me that I'll be referencing if you're watching the video version of this episode, or if you're on audio. Hey, thanks so much for being here. So let's dive in. All right. So, why am I choosing to do highlights from books? Number one is because I read and listen, admittedly, to personal professional development books constantly, but I find it really hard to act on them. Like there's all this energy that's built up when you're listening to a book or you're reading and you're like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And then life gets in the way. And oftentimes I'll read something and then really never implement anything that was the call to action throughout the book. So I'm trying to change that by choosing just one or two things to take away or implement when I read something new. So that's part of this, is just really highlighting some of those takeaways that exist in all of these reads that could take us an eternity to finish and see how we can actually do after reading. And one of my favorite quotes is from Dale Carnegie, and it is, knowledge isn't power until it's applied. And I think that's really critical here. Just what can we apply? How can we apply it and make it relevant to our unique lives? So I went back and forth as to what book to review first, and this was so difficult for me. I was really interested in reviewing The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And if you haven't heard of The Let Them Theory quite yet, I'm sure you will, or maybe you've seen it. It's a giant green book that's just about everywhere. I did both listen and read The Let Them Theory. And I wanted to do it for two reasons. One, it is incredibly popular right now. And two, it's the last book that I read, so it's top of mind. But I kept getting pulled back to review Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass. Hi, pause, editing version of me here. So I realized that in all of my excitement, I was pronouncing the author's name incorrectly. It is Jen Sincero, not Jen Sincero, and pronunciation is really important to me. So I just wanted to pause. I know, I apologize, and I was going to re-record, but then I feel like you lose the realness of the episode. So I'm sorry, and enjoy. So that's what we're doing today. Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass. This was one of the very first personal professional development books that I ever read. I was in my really early 20s and I was really struggling with imposter syndrome. And I needed a way to kick it. I needed a mindset shift. I just wanted to feel more confident in myself and to stop doubting my abilities. Not that that really ever goes away, but this book helped so much. It is gold to me. I absolutely love this. So we're going to start here. I promise I'll get to the Let Them Theory sometime in the future, but right now we're going to review You Are a Badass. So I'm going to reference my notes and I'll take you there. Okay, so the full title of this book is You Are a Badass: How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life. So obviously, we all want to do that. And I'm going to give you a really brief summary of the book. So when I was thinking about and reflecting on Jen's approach, it's really like a love letter to anyone who feels like they are stuck or small, but have this belly burn that they have so much more to give. And if you fall into that category, same, but it was a love letter to anyone who may be feeling that way. And that's what I loved most about it. And it really resonated deeply for me. And on page 12 of the book, I have a quote here, and it reads, "You need to go from wanting to change your life to deciding to change your life." And I'll read that one more time. You need to go from wanting to change your life to deciding to change your life. And I found myself when I first read this book in this constant stage of wanting. Again, this was one of the first professional development books that I read, but even now when I'm reading, I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I want to improve my morning routine. I want. But it's the action that really matters. So I hope that this is helpful for you too in deciding to act, even if it's one small thing or change. What I also love about this book is Jen shares her lived experience. And whenever I'm reading and I know that the author has gone through it, and our girl, she has gone through it, it makes me a believer. So, some things that Jen experienced is in her early 40s, she found herself broke, living in a garage, and just watching her life pass by. But again, had that belly burn of just knowing she wanted to do something more and that she was more capable, but she kept getting in her own way. So she decided to go on her own journey of self discovery and spirituality, healing, and unlearning. And the book talks about all of the above. I think she writes like she's your friend or an older sister. I don't have older sisters, but I have sister in laws and a lot of older friends. And it's one of those no BS friends, or I call a critical friend. They just tell you how it is. And that's exactly how Jen writes in the book, which I really love. And she makes you feel like it's okay to doubt yourself and to be afraid, but also living an awesome life is possible. And it's not as difficult as we make it out to be in our own minds. So, what a better way to learn than from someone who has done? And Jen has definitely done the dang thing. So, the book is broken up into 4 sections. Part 1 is how you got this way, so more reflective. Again, self discovery, really being aware of why you are the way you are. How to embrace your inner badass is part 2. Part 3 is how to tap into the mother load, which is heavily focused on spirituality. 4, how to get over your BS already. And then 5, how to kick some ass. That's how the book ends. There are 27 short chapters, and it's about 250 pages in total. And she talks about how your subconscious beliefs shape your reality, the power of thought and intention, so some manifestation work in here, why loving yourself is a non-negotiable and the power of self-love, how to ditch self-sabotage and comparison, if that is something that is close to your heart, the importance of trusting the universe or whatever you call it. So she referenced the universe or God or whatever entity that resonates with you, how to clean up your relationship with money, and why taking imperfect action is key to transformation. So again, acting in general, even if it is not 100% perfect, just doing. So, when I was thinking about, of course, I'm not going to summarize the whole book because I hope that you will read it. But what I wanted to focus on today, especially after Shawnee's interview, is just the power of choosing to begin and the fact that we don't need to be ready when we begin. And we oftentimes will never be ready to begin, even if we think that there's this perfect opportune time. Like the new year is an example, it's really never the perfect opportune time. And Jen has this really great story that she tells about being an alien on page 74 of the book. So I'm going to read that to you. And as I do, listen and see what you would do if you were in this situation. So here we go. Be the alien. Imagine that you're an alien floating around in outer space and you suddenly swoop down to Earth and inhabit your own body. So take that in. You're an alien floating around in outer space and you suddenly swoop down to Earth and inhabit your own body. As the alien, everything about your life, this life, is new to you. You look around. What do you see? What is the person who you've inhabited so obviously awesome at? What do they have the most fun doing? What connections do they have? What resources and opportunities are available to them? As the alien, to whom everything is new and exciting and there's nothing at risk and no past to lug around, what are you going to do with this incredible new life you stepped into? How are you going to use this new body and this experience to create something fabulous and awesome starting right now? So think about, maybe you saw something during that. I hope that you did. What is one thing that you could do today to get one step closer to what you saw? And I know that that was a really fast exercise, but something to reflect on later today or after you end this episode. But one thing that Jen talks about next is taking the first right step. So instead of wasting hours and days and years trying to figure out your perfect next move, just do something already. So that's why I prompt you to think about doing one thing, just one. And when I first read this, admittedly, my dream is to be a New York Times bestselling author. It is something now that I say proudly because I am actively working towards it. And when I did the alien test and inhabited this body on Earth, all I could see is the gifts and abilities of the person that I was inhabiting writing. So that was my call to action. I finished the book and immediately started writing my first book, self-published book. If you're in your 20s, read this. And I have no formal education or background in writing. I did this a few years ago. So at the time, I didn't have Grammarly or didn't know that Grammarly existed. AI wasn't on the radar. So this was fully 100% coming from within me. And was it scary? Hell yeah. Mostly I was really afraid of bombing and just being judged by others once I published something that was so personal. Even if there was judgment, that's okay. And I'm so happy that I took the leap of faith, but it was always a fantasy for me to be a writer. And again, I have this larger dream of being a New York Times bestselling writer, but you have to start somewhere. And this book really gave me the confidence to just start writing one word typed in a document, which led to a self-published book. And I wanted to reference one more chapter before I set us free. And that is all about following your fantasies. So here Jen says, now that I've given you all the kinder, gentler ways to figure yourself out, I'm going to suggest something you're probably not going to like so much. Jump in the deep and follow your fantasies. What do you fantasize about when you're staring out the window of a train or before you go to sleep at night or when you're pretending to listen to someone really boring talk your ear off? Are you on stage doing stand-up comedy in front of thousands of hysterical fans? Are you surrounded by your beautiful children in the coziest, happiest home ever? Are you being celebrated for building orphanages around the world? Do this exercise as if money were not an issue. Tap into what brings you great joy instead of what you think you need to do to survive. If you had an unlimited supply of cash, what would you spend your life doing? Our fantasies are our realities in an excuse-free world. I'll read that again. Our fantasies are our realities in an excuse-free world. So, all excuses aside, what are you fantasizing about? And how can you do one thing, just one action to get you closer to whatever that may be? Mine was literally titling a Word document and typing one letter at a time, one character, until I got a full sentence, which led to a paragraph, which led to a page, and so on, and so on, and so on. So I can't say how much I love this book. There's a sequence of them. There's more than one. I'll read you the other options that are available. So there's also badass habits. You are a badass every day and you are a badass at making money. There's a badass journal. The list goes on and on. But if you liked anything that I read with you today, definitely read or listen to You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. She is awesome. She is a badass, and I know that you'll really love this read. So, finally, my friends, find one thing that brings you joy today. Thank you so much for listening. Hey again, friends. So there's one part that I forgot to read to you when I was doing the live recording. So editing me here needs to insert this. So this is from Jen's introduction, and I think it just really sets the tone for, again, please read this book. But she says, but compared to what I knew it was capable of, I was, shall we say, unimpressed. I always felt like, come on, this is the best I can do, really. I'm going to just make enough to pay my rent this month again. I'm going to spend another year dating a bunch of weirdos so I can be in all these wobbly, non-committal relationships and create even more drama, really. And am I seriously going to question what my deeper purpose is and wallow in the misery of that quagmire for the millionth time? It was a snore. I felt like I was going through the motions of living my lukewarm life with the occasional flare-ups of awesomeness here and there. And the most painful part was that deep down, I knew I was a total rock star, that I had the power to give and receive and love with the best of them, and that I could leap tall buildings in a single bound and could create anything I put my mind to. So, you're a rock star. And I just had to read that because come on. All right, bye for real.